What's good, everybody? Hope y'all are doing well and staying safe. So I want to go over my point of view on why macros should stay being allowed to be used in Warframe for all players, as it has always been. To start off with, before we actually get into all those points, we have mobile with auto shoot, melee, and a bullet jump macro. And I'd be interested to hear what the macro haters, I guess we'll call them, think about this, because the auto shoot and melee literally works more advanced than my macros do, due to them having smart shooting by detecting if there is an enemy present, which becomes far more ammo efficient than anything that I can create. And if you were to use, say, a melee macro, it gives you far better overall survivability in the game, because it allows you to be able to block incoming attacks when you don't have an enemy that you're close enough to melee without even having to do anything. These features aren't features like we know auto melee to be in that we currently have, where we hold down the button and a repeat cast for us. No, if they're in your crosshair, it does the action for you. It even takes away the buttons and only makes them visible for very select instances. Now, to start off with, no one should ever have to go to the lengths I'm having to go to try and prove why they need accessibility in a game that clearly allows for it. It's honestly extremely degrading and dehumanizing, especially when I already made a video showing what I felt like was enough of my problems on my fitness channel, which I also did show DE, and it's public for y'all to see. You just have to open your eyes out of your fit of rage that is created out of nothing more than your own entitlement. As what you're saying is that every person who uses macros should make their life public and share it with some random gaming company. Would you feel comfortable doing that yourself, just so you can play a very casual video game? Because no person should ever have to expose themselves like this just to play a video game, or pray that a company gets a hold of them to sponsor making some custom kit when there's software out there on many keyboard and mice that comes with it more or less defaultly. In order to have the best experience, I guess you could say, you're going to want to use the software, as the software is used for well more than just macroing. Because like I said, we aren't talking about a competitive game here. This is a casual game, and it always has been. So what are you really honestly worried about, especially when mobile literally has the feature built into it? And if you want to talk about world records, the one thing I must say is you're probably from the 2019 up era that I have talked about before, as every OG that I've known over the game doesn't care about macros whatsoever. We don't even care about world records whatsoever. It doesn't matter. And if you were to look at any of my VODs and such, you would have heard me say many of times that the only reason why I threw world record on there was to grow my channel faster, and it's good clickbait regardless of it being true. Because no one in the endurance community cares that what I did was a world record. What the real OGs cared about is that I did a 95.5 hour survival, and that's where all the credit is. It doesn't matter if the world record was 300 hours or 20 hours. It's about what you did with your loadout and teaching others, not some stupid world record that no one cares about. It's why when I started streaming my run, I didn't even have world record in the title until I decided it was worth the clickbait. Before, it was just labeled 100-hour mag. This game is very casual and should never change from that, not only because of the time it would take to fix the bugs for a more fair environment, but also because it's part of the charm of the game. Is you can go from super casual to min-maxing and still get all the content done in the game while enjoying yourself and playing how you see fit. Now, I also see people saying that because I'm disabled, I should be allowed to use macros without any issue. I want to note that it was my choice to not use macros until I needed them for accessibility reasons that were actually related to a disability, as there are many people out there in the world that aren't disabled in the slightest bit, but use macros all the time for actions they have to spam like crazy, and everything from their everyday play, speedrunning, to endurance. There isn't a person in the world that shouldn't be allowed to use them as long as they're for quality of life, as stated before. No one should have to prove themselves on a casual game when the macros do nothing more than provide quality of life, because that's what a macro is. It's not a bot that fully plays for you. It's a quality of life feature for increasing the lifespan of your hardware, reducing the chance of RSI related conditions, or reducing the pain caused by RSIs. As for something, say, maybe a competitive game that actually is focused predominantly around competitive play, like let's say a shooter or something like that, Valorant, let's say for instance, or League of Legends or anything like that, that's a situation where you have to accept, just like I do, that you won't be able to play at the level you think you should be able to play at. Whether that be economically, you can't afford to spam the buttons that much and it'll break your hardware and you can't afford a replacement, or because you have an RSI of some sort and doing so creates a lot of strain and pain. You have to accept that's where you're at. That's why I don't play those games, is because I play to TOS. As touching back on the, say, can't afford thing, what if somebody lives in a horrible part of the world and they don't have the money to replace their hardware or the money to treat an RSI if they were to get one, because their health system is in shambles of where they live, and they use gaming as a way to escape so they don't have to deal with all the horrible things that can happen when you live in a low economic value area? Are those people not allowed to play the game and enjoy the game when it's a free-to-play game, which means people of lower economic value are more likely to actually play the game because they can afford to play the game? Or do you think that they should have to send their pay stubs to DE to prove that they can't afford to replace their hardware if things were to break? Is why it blows me away at the end of the day that people make a big deal of it, because that's why I feel like it's entitlement. Y'all don't even want to take the time to look at the fact that we are playing a free-to-play casual grind-based game that doesn't have an esports league. So what does it really hurt if it's not playing the game for them fully? If it's just quality of life, it doesn't hurt anything. And Warframe bringing in over $100 million a year, they should have an anti-cheat system that can actually detect the difference between the two. And if they don't, they need to actually start looking at player evidence, because that's all you have to go on then. As no one should have to run hand cams and all of this stuff to prove all of this. You should be able to, as CSRs and developers that are brought on to help the CSRs, which CSR is a customer service representative, you should be able to look at someone's gameplay and realize the difference in movement between a bot and not a bot. This isn't a first-person shooter. The movement in this game is not easy to replicate, at least in my subjective opinion, wouldn't be easy to replicate for a bot. So that's where things should be considered. It's already considered in the fact that if you move, you're not considered AFK. It doesn't matter whether you cast abilities or shoot or anything like that. It just matters if you move on the map in general. So with that already being a consideration into your system, why wouldn't you look at inconsistencies of movement? If there's inconsistencies of movement, that points to the player not using a bot, but just using a quality of life macro. Because honestly, I wish I had a game like Warframe when I was growing up in the ghettos of South Florida. Finding my friends shot dead, getting shot myself, being robbed. Like, it would have been great. I had World of Warcraft and I still had to deal with all that. If I would have had Warframe with its endless potential and capability of solo play, to where I didn't have to rely off of other people to be able to fully enjoy myself, I probably would have never existed really outside, and I would have been able to avoid a lot of terrible things that happened to me throughout my life. And what it feels like at this rate, when I have to deal with the haters in my comment section, is that people are just searching for any reason that they can to knock my world record title off. And it's amazing that you really are going to these lengths in a PvE game that's as casual as it is. It's incredible. But let me know your thoughts and opinions below in the comment section, and I do hope you all take care, stay safe, stay humble, be open, and as always, never stop searching. Peace, everybody.